Namaskar, this is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Donald Trump won the US election on a promise/slogan, Make America Great Again. In short, MAGA. We don't know about great, but right now, America is 50 shades of MAGA. They're all fighting each other. Caught in the middle are Indian Americans. The latest bone of contention is the H-1B visa. The MAGA pro-max do not like it. The MAGA tech bros really want it. Leading the charge here is Elon Musk. He wants the visa and Trump backs him. But who will win this battle? And how does it expose America's racism? We'll discuss that tonight. Also the story of Indian-American techie Suchir Balaji. He was the OpenAI whistleblower. Now he's been found dead. Suicide or murder? That is the question. Elon Musk wants an FBI probe. What led to the South Korean plane crash that killed 179 people on board? Why the heat is on Boeing? Why Vladimir Putin has said sorry to Azerbaijan, even as Russia refuses to admit guilt for the plane crash. Why the Taliban have banned Windows in Afghanistan. How is it that the Chinese central bank owns shares in 35 Indian companies? Why Trump is backing a former ice hockey player to replace Justin Trudeau as Canada's Prime Minister. And why you can't escape the police this New Year's Eve, wherever you are in the world. Also, our year-end special playlist, 2024 Wrapped, the Geopolitics edition. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. Germany accuses Elon Musk of trying to influence its election. This comes after Musk endorsed the far-right AfD party in an opinion piece. Musk is the world's richest person. He has defended his right to weigh in because of his significant investments. Germany will hold its parliamentary election in February next year. China-US relationship is one of the most important in the world. That's Chinese leader Xi Jinping's message to US President Joe Biden. Xi says Beijing is willing to work with Washington. His remarks were part of a condolence letter following the death of former US President Jimmy Carter. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar begins his three-day trip to Qatar. He will meet the Gulf country's Prime Minister during this visit. Cooperation between the two countries has been steadily growing. Bilateral trade between India and Qatar stands at about $14 billion per annum. Qatar is also home to more than 800,000 Indians. In India, life was hit in several parts across Punjab due to a shutdown called by the farmers. Rail and road traffic was crippled in many parts of the state. The protesting farmers are angry that the central government has not accepted their demands. A legal guarantee of a minimum support price for their crops is among the key demands. Kenyan police detained protesters rallying against the recent abductions. The disappearances involve people who criticized President William Ruto. In June, the youth-led anti-government protest began in the East African nation. Since then, security forces have been accused of carrying out illegal detentions. And Belgium bans disposable e-cigarettes, becoming the first European Union country to do so. From the 1st of January, it will be forbidden to sell single-use vapes in Belgium. The move aims to protect young people's health as part of a national anti-tobacco plan. A visa war is unfolding in the United States of America. It has pitted Donald Trump supporters against each other and Elon Musk against hardcore MAGA. At the center of it is the H-1B visa. This is a special category of temporary US visas. They're given to highly skilled immigrants like engineers or IT professionals. The far-right Trump supporters do not like it. They do not like the H-1B visa. They believe it will take away American jobs. But tech bros are big fans of it. They say the H-1B will bring talented migrants to America. Now, for the past few days, these two camps have been clashing, sort of like a MAGA civil war. And now Donald Trump has weighed in on the debate. Listen to what he said, and I'm quoting. I have many H-1B visas on my properties. I've been a believer in H-1B. I have used it many times. It's a great program. This is what Donald Trump has said. He is siding with the tech bros, with the likes of Elon Musk. He supports them. He says the H-1B is a great visa program. But frankly, this has gone beyond visas. This is about racism now. Trump spent years whipping up white supremacy. He villainized migrants, both skilled and unskilled. And now suddenly he's reformed? Well, his base hasn't. They're spewing venom on social media. An Indian-American lawmaker called out this racism. Look at the replies on his post. I'm quoting some of them. Go back to your third world country and fix the policies there. Oh, wait, they don't even have policies. They just play in mud all day. And this is just one example. Most of the replies are asking him to return to India. And remember, this is a congressman we are talking about, an American lawmaker. When Vivek Ramaswamy supported H-1B, the same thing happened. Listen to this. I'm quoting again. Honest question. What percentage of Indian households have flushable toilets? I'll give you another example, and I'm quoting here. They are not our people. Good luck selling pagan veganism as an American trait. This is the reality of Donald Trump's core base. America first is not a political slogan for them. It's a racist slogan, which basically means white people first. And they're using the H-1B to channel that hatred. So tonight, let's also take a closer look at this visa. Why is it so controversial? And where does India feature in this debate? The H-1B is a temporary work visa. It is first issued for a period of 3 years. After that, you can get it extended, or you can apply for a green card, basically a permanent residency. But there is a cap on this visa. The US only issues 85,000 H-1B visas every year. Most of these are for computer-related jobs, and Indians dominate this field. Look at the data from the last financial year. Indians accounted for 72% H-1B approvals. The Chinese are a distant second with 11%. Now, some of the big names in tech have used this visa, like Google's Sundar Pichai and Microsoft's Satya Nadella. So when governments meet, it's always a big issue. India pushes for H-1B reforms. The US tries to delay it. That's been the template so far. But the Indian Commerce Minister said that's all in the past, that H-1B won't be a point of discussion in bilateral talks going forward, meaning it won't be a big issue anymore. And he said this in October. Cut to December, we are talking about it again, all thanks to Donald Trump. He curbed H-1B visas in his first term as president. In 2016, the visa denial rate was 6%. By 2018, it shot up to 24%. And by the time he left office, 2021, it was 13%. And this drop was not because Trump changed his position. It was because of legal challenges, because the rejected applicants decided to fight. Now, Trump 1.0 was firmly anti-immigration. Mexicans, Indians, Chinese, it did not really matter for him. Trump was courting the hardcore conservative vote. So any immigration was bad. This time, though, his coalition is different. It includes tech bros like Elon Musk, and they love the H-1B visa. Musk himself came to America on the very same visa. His company Tesla obtained more than 700 of them this year. Elon Musk says he will go to war for H-1B. And it's clear why. Data shows that H-1B employees are paid less than American ones. Same job, same skills, but different pay. Around 60% of them are paid way less than the average. So it's cheap labor for US firms. Secondly, it's more about compliant labor. Migrant workers are less likely to report workplace issues. They know they're on a visa. They know they're in a foreign country. So their first instinct is to keep their head down and keep working, which is why tech bros love H-1B. Yes, talent is a big factor, but so is the convenience. The question is, how should India react to all of this? Well, the uncertainty doesn't help. A lot of Indians are hoping to get these visas. They would certainly like some clarity. Earlier this month, Joe Biden relaxed the H-1B visa rules. But next month, Trump will take over. Will he decide to curb H-1B again, or will his tech bro supporters prevail over him? That is India's first concern. The second concern is that of brain drain. Let's say that Trump listens to Elon Musk and he reforms or lifts the cap on H-1B visas. Then more and more skilled Indians could leave the country. And it's already a big problem for India. Since 2015, more than 1.3 million Indians have left. More than 1.3 million Indians have left India, a lot of them highly skilled. Had they stayed, India's IT sector could have added $20 billion annually. Imagine that. $20 billion extra per year. That is the cost of brain drain. Now imagine this across different sectors of the economy. It is a big blow to India's growth. Having said that, the solution is not to curb the H-1B visa, because talent will always chase money. And right now that money is in the United States. The solution is to develop India's own tech landscape to create opportunities that rival or mirror America. If not, these people will not stay. As for the MAGA war, it's all up to Donald Trump. He may say that he likes the H-1B visas, but let's see what he does after taking office. Suchir Balaji's story was supposed to be one of triumph. A young boy genius working at OpenAI, trying to shape the future of artificial intelligence. Yet, his life ended in tragedy. Dead at the age of 26 in his San Francisco apartment. The police said it was suicide, but Balaji's parents disagree. They say he was killed. After all, Suchir Balaji was the whistleblower who exposed OpenAI. So what exactly happened here? Was this suicide or murder? And why is Elon Musk asking for an FBI investigation? Let's start with Suchir Balaji's story. He was born in 1998 to tech-savvy parents in California. His parents knew that he was different, but soon it became clear that he was a prodigy. He started coding when he was just 11 years old. By age 13, he built his first computer. At 17, he was recruited by Quora. And so his meteoric rise continued. Balaji landed at UC Berkeley. There he won accolades for his groundbreaking algorithms. In 2018, he joined OpenAI as an intern. The company was a non-profit at that time, and its goal was quite clear: to ensure that AI benefits humanity. That's what OpenAI was about. And Balaji believed in that dream. He spent the next 4 years working towards it. But things changed in 2022. That's when ChatGPT was launched. It became extremely popular. OpenAI shifted towards profit. And Balaji's ideals clashed with the company's future path. There were multiple ethical questions, especially on how AI is trained. Balaji began to see the cracks. He believed that AI was harming humanity. So in August 2024, he left OpenAI, but the idea kept haunting him. And in October, he went public. In an interview to the New York Times, Balaji spoke out. He talked about OpenAI's information gathering practices, about how the company violated copyright laws. He said ChatGPT was damaging the internet. And with this, Suchir Balaji became the OpenAI whistleblower. He then went about his business. OpenAI kept working on new models. Balaji turned to new projects. He was planning a non-profit for medical AI. So everything seemed fine, basically, after that interview. But then things changed in November. On November 21st, Balaji celebrated his 26th birthday. He spoke to his parents. He talked about flying back home. And then he went MIA, missing in action. He did not answer calls. His mother went and knocked on his door. No one answered, so she got worried. She called the San Francisco police. They entered the apartment and they found his body there. The police later said that Balaji had died by suicide, but his parents were not convinced. So they arranged for a private autopsy. And the results were atypical. So they began to suspect foul play. Balaji's parents say that his apartment was ransacked, that there were signs of struggle. His mother has posted about it on X. And let me quote from what she said. It's a cold-blooded murder declared by authorities as suicide. Lobbying in SF City does not stop us from getting justices. We demand FBI investigation. So the family are now calling for an FBI investigation, and they found a backer in Elon Musk. He too is asking for a probe. What about OpenAI? What have they said? When Suchir died, the company said they were devastated, but they haven't said anything since then. Balaji's parents too have not mentioned OpenAI. They say that they're not pointing any fingers. But it inevitably raises questions. Did Balaji lose his life for speaking out? You see, being a whistleblower is not just courageous, it's also very dangerous. Speaking out against powerful entities comes with risks. There can be lawsuits, financial trouble. Whistleblowers can lose friends, they can be called traitors, and when there's big money at stake, the risk escalates. We've seen quite a few examples across the world. But Balaji's case could take a different turn, and that's because of Elon Musk. He already has an axe to grind with OpenAI. Elon Musk and Sam Altman co-founded OpenAI in 2015. Musk left the organization 6 years ago, but he hasn't stopped questioning it since. He's raised concerns over direction, leadership, and profitability. He's also dragged OpenAI to court, so Elon Musk is likely to capitalize on this case. He already says it does not look like a suicide. Elon Musk has the power to push this forward. After all, he has the US president-elect's ear. As for the case, we cannot say if it was indeed suicide or murder. That's for the American police to find out. But we do agree that it needs a wider probe, because when billions of dollars hang in the balance, speaking out can be a matter of life and death. Our next story is from South Korea, where a disaster has taken place. A plane crash that has left 179 people dead. It's the worst air disaster on South Korean soil. We have visuals of the accident. Take a look at what happened. The crash took place at the Muan International Airport. It's a small airport located in the country's south. The flight was coming in from Thailand, from the capital Bangkok. It was a Jeju Air flight. Jeju Air is one of South Korea's most popular budget airlines. The crash occurred on Sunday morning at about 9:03 a.m. local time. The cause of the accident is still not clear, but a bird strike could have played a key role. Here's a timeline of how it unfolded. Air traffic control gave the flight a go-ahead to land at about 8:54 a.m. 3 minutes later, at 8:57, air traffic control issued a warning about bird activity in the area. 2 minutes after that, at 8:59 a.m., one of Jeju Air pilots reported hitting a bird. The pilots issued a distress call, calling out Mayday, and aborted the original landing path. The pilots then requested permission to land from the opposite direction. They made a 180-degree turn mid-air and then landed on the runway. Now look at the video again. You will notice a few things. The plane made it to the runway after making the U-turn. But look at where it landed. Not at the beginning of the runway, which is about 2.8 kilometers long. The plane landed approximately halfway on the runway. Next, we can see that the landing gear did not deploy. The plane is skidding along the runway on its engine. The wheels did not come out. It's hard to make out from the video, but it seems that the wing flaps did not deploy either. So the plane was coming in at full speed, nothing to slow it down, and it landed halfway onto the runway. The plane skid for about 1,600 meters before it crashed into a concrete wall. That is where it erupted into flames. There were 181 people on board the flight, 175 passengers, 6 crew members. Only 2 survived. 2 crew members survived the crash. They were seated near the tail section of the plane. A total of 179 people perished in the tragedy.
When I saw the accident video, it seemed like out of control when the plane entered the airport. The pilots probably had no choice but to do it. My daughter, who is only in her mid-40s, ended up like this. This is unbelievable.
It's my brother. He went with his 17 former colleagues from Jialanamdo workplace. Now my nephew has gone and it's been over 2 hours and he hasn't seen me.
South Korea is reeling from the tragedy. A memorial has been set up for the victims. A 7-day national mourning period has been declared. New Year's Day celebrations will either be cancelled or muted. But amid the sorrow, there is anger too. The families of the victims are still waiting for their remains. Emergency crews are still trying to identify the bodies. They're still sifting through the wreckage. You saw the crash, how the plane rammed into a concrete wall at full speed. This has caused anger too. Why was a concrete structure there in the first place? It was located about 250 meters away from the runway. Experts say that some more lives may have been saved if it hadn't been there. The airline is facing scrutiny as well. The Jeju airplane was extremely busy prior to the crash. It flew 13 times in the 48 hours preceding the accident. This has raised concerns about excessive usage. And of course, there's a mystery of the landing gear. Why did it not deploy? Was it human error or something wrong with the plane? We'll have to wait a while for these answers to come. The plane's 2 black boxes, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, have both been recovered. But the flight data recorder is damaged. It will take at least a month to decipher, and if the damage is extensive, it could take longer. So we'll have to wait to find out the reason for this crash. South Koreans have been shaken by the tragedy. Tens of thousands of flight bookings were cancelled yesterday. This was in the hours following the crash. South Koreans are scared. They're concerned about air safety. The last time a tragedy like this took place was back in 1997, 27 years ago. Back then, a Korean air flight crashed in the US territory of Guam. 229 people had died in that crash. It was a wake-up call. South Korea overhauled its air safety procedures. The country is now considered one of the safest when it comes to air travel. But Sunday's crash has tarnished that track record. Let's see who or what is to blame and how South Korea recovers from this. The South Korean air disaster has caught the world's attention, and it has put the spotlight on a familiar face, the American aerospace giant, Boeing. Now, as some of you may know, this hasn't been a great year for Boeing. The company has been under heavy scrutiny over the safety of its aircraft. This latest South Korean incident makes things worse. The Jeju airplane that crashed was a Boeing jet. It was a 737-800. 2024 began with a major aircraft incident involving a Boeing jet. This was the Alaska Airlines mid-air blowout incident. It took place on the 5th of January this year. A Boeing MAX 9 was in flight, but midway, an emergency door randomly flew out. Oxygen was sucked out of the opening. People were getting pulled towards it. One teenager lost the shirt off his back. Thankfully, no one was seriously injured, but the incident sent alarm bells ringing, and it brought intense scrutiny upon Boeing. Now we have the South Korean disaster, and it's not just one incident. There were 2. The first is Sunday's crash, the one that you just saw. Here's a video of that accident. You can see that the plane made an emergency landing, but it did so without its landing gear deployed. As we've discussed, the wheels did not come out. So was this human error? Or was it because the pilots did not deploy the landing gear and flaps? Or was it because the Boeing plane did not let them? It will take weeks, maybe months, for the answers to come out. But until then, Boeing will be under the spotlight, especially because of the second incident, which took place today. Another Jeju 737-800 faced an issue earlier today. It's the same model that crashed yesterday. Today's flight faced some landing gear issues. The airline said that there was a mechanical defect, similar to what the aircraft that crashed on Sunday faced. Today, things ended on a much better note, though. The plane detected the issue shortly after takeoff. So it turned around and made an emergency landing. It also managed to do so safely. It managed to land safely. But do you see why Boeing has lost public trust? 2 incidents in 2 days, both involving Boeing jets. People are scared now. Their faith in Boeing has been shaken. People are checking to see if their next aircraft is a Boeing or not, which happened today, by the way. The Jeju Air passengers were being transferred to another flight, the ones who came back. But 21 of them declined to go because the next one was a Boeing as well. And we must say here, Boeing has brought this upon itself. Over the years, it has transformed. It was once a company hailed for innovation, for its world-class jets. But now it's more famous for crashes and manufacturing defects. In 2018 and 2019, there were 2 major crashes, both involving the Boeing 737 MAX. These crashes led to an investigation. It was found that Boeing cut corners. 2024 has buried the company's reputation further, and the company's share prices declined by about 32% this year. The latest incidents could send them further down. The company also faced a major labor strike this year. It went on for about 7 weeks and ended only last month. It seems everywhere you look, there is chaos at Boeing. The company needs a revamp. It needs to go back to its roots to focus on innovation, and it needs to stop cutting corners. The only way this will happen is if the pressure continues. If you as a flyer keep choosing to skip Boeings, if you as an investor keep pushing its share prices down, at the end of the day, Boeing is a business. They only understand the language of money. So if we keep piling on pressure, the company will come to its senses or it will sink. Either way, it should ensure global air safety. And speaking of plane crashes, on Christmas Day, an Azerbaijani Airlines plane crashed in Kazakhstan. 38 people were killed. Since then, multiple theories have been floated, from birds to Ukrainian drones. Everything has been discussed. But now the findings of an investigation are out, and Azerbaijan's president himself declared it. He said the plane was hit by the Russian air defense system. Basically, he's blamed Moscow for the crash, and he wants punishment for those responsible. And what is Russia's response? It has not admitted guilt, but President Putin has apologized to Baku nonetheless. So what's the apology for? And what happens next? Here's our report.
On December 25th, flight J28243 was en route from Azerbaijan's capital Baku to Grozny in Russia's Chechnya. It faced some problems soon after takeoff. The Azerbaijan Airlines plane was forced to divert. It crashed near Aktau, which is in Kazakhstan. There were 67 people on board. 38 of them were killed in this incident. After the crash, multiple theories were floated. The plane was hit by birds. There were Ukrainian drones. Some Russian experts suggested dense fog was to be blamed. There was also the mention of a gas cylinder explosion. But Azerbaijan has now cleared the air.
The facts indicate that the Azerbaijani civilian plane was damaged from the outside over Russian territory, near the city of Grozny, and almost lost control. We also know that use of electronic warfare put our plane out of control.
Azerbaijan has now blamed Russia for the plane accident. It says the plane came under fire. Reports suggest that the plane's GPS was affected by electronic jamming. Then it was damaged by Russian air defense systems. So Baku wants Moscow to come clean. But Russia is yet to do that. On Saturday, Russian President Vladimir Putin dialed his Azerbaijani counterpart. He apologized for the plane crash, but he stopped short of accepting blame. There was another call on Sunday, but the details of that aren't out yet. What we do know is that President Aliyev has 3 demands.
Rusiya tərəfi Azərbaycandan üzr istəməlidir.
The Russian side must apologize to Azerbaijan. Secondly, it must acknowledge its guilt. Thirdly, those responsible must be punished, brought to criminal responsibility, and compensation must be paid to the Azerbaijani state, to the injured passengers and crew members. These are our conditions. The first of these was fulfilled yesterday. I do hope that the other conditions will also be accepted.
Üzvlərinə təzminat ödəməlidir.
Azerbaijan's demands are clear: an apology, acknowledgement of guilt, and the punishment of those responsible. Moscow has only apologized until now, but will the Kremlin accept guilt? Aliyev says it's a non-negotiable. Azerbaijan and Russia are allies. They have had friendly relations. Russia exports oil and gas through Azerbaijan. Baku also provides a transport corridor to Russia for trade with Iran, which means the two have fairly warm ties.
Of course, there can be no question of any deliberate terrorist act here. Therefore, admitting one's guilt, apologizing in a timely manner to Azerbaijan, which is considered a friendly country, and bringing this to the attention of the public, these were all measures and steps that had to be taken. Unfortunately, for the first 3 days, we heard nothing but delusional versions from Russia.
But Russia's denial of electronic warfare and any involvement in the incident has only added fuel to the fire. Aliyev too claims that Moscow tried to cover up the issue. So Baku wants to take a stand now. It wants accountability for the incident. Meanwhile, the families of the victims wait for closure. So the pressure is now on both sides. As Azerbaijan demands transparency and justice, Russia's next move could determine their future relations.
Now let's talk about India and China, 2 neighbors with a complicated relationship. They have been trying to resolve their differences, and it's difficult to find common ground. India is a democracy. China is a one-party communist state, although under Xi Jinping, it's essentially a dictatorship with an expansionist agenda. But there is one thing that both neighbors seem to agree on, and that's capitalism. This story is about that, about how China is making significant investments in Indian companies. And when I say China, I'm not talking about individual investors. I'm talking about China's central bank, the People's Bank of China, PBOC. It's as Chinese as it gets. China's central bank has multiple holdings in India. We are talking as many as 35 companies. In other words, China's central bank has shares of 35 Indian companies, and this portfolio includes blue chip companies in India. Let's look at the biggest holdings. The list has names like ICICI Bank, which is a top Indian bank, Infosys, a leading name in information technology, Tata Consultancy Services or TCS, which happens to be a competitor of Infosys. There is also the state-owned Power Grid Corporation of India, HUL or Hindustan Unilever, and Maruti Suzuki. China's central bank has shares of all these companies. And what's the value of these holdings? They run into thousands of crores. The total value of PBOC's portfolio in India is about 40,000 crore rupees. That's well over $4 billion US. And this number may sound alarming, but there is no reason to panic because these investments are not hidden. They have all been disclosed to the government of India. And this is also not a new trend. The Chinese central bank has had holdings in India for some years now. They started investing in 2018. And if you look at each case separately, the shareholdings have never been significant. Even today, China's stake is less than 1% of all these companies. So across the 35 companies, the share of PBOC is less than 1%. Let's look at their top 5 investments. In ICICI Bank, China holds 0.67% of the shares. HDFC Bank is at number 2, where China's shareholding is 0.39%. Infosys, 0.67% again. TCS 0.24%, and finally Kotak Mahindra Bank, where China has 0.46% of the shares. So in monetary terms, China's investments sound substantial, but the actual shareholding is small, too small to influence any of these companies. And India has been vigilant about this, about Chinese money in Indian companies. New Delhi, in fact, woke up to the risks in 2020 when Chinese troops clashed with our soldiers at the border. In the wake of that clash, Chinese investments in the Indian stock market sparked a debate. They caused some uproar. Even then, these holdings were minuscule, but New Delhi took no chances. It changed the rules and stepped up the scrutiny. In fact, it did so for all the neighbors of India. So any investment from India's neighbors now faces extra scrutiny, and it needs approval from the government of India. Then in October this year, India and China reached a border deal. This led to disengagement of troops at the border and a meeting of the top leadership. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with China's President Xi Jinping. This was in Russia on the sidelines of the BRICS summit, their first bilateral meeting in 4 years. A thaw on the border has also opened doors for more Chinese investments. India has not changed the rules, though. It has not relaxed the entry barriers for China. And yet more deals are happening. This year, India has okayed multiple investment proposals for China, from China rather. Visas for some Chinese workers have also been expedited. So how should we look at all these trends? India's finance minister summed it up the best. That's Nirmala Sitharaman. She spoke about this in October. Listen to what she said.
We want business, we want investment, but we also need some safeguards because India is located in a neighborhood which is very, very sensitive. I cannot blindly receive FDI because I want money for investment, forgetful or unmindful of where it is coming from. Because the SEBI might have the usual global level disclosure norms, and you can always go from one to another as to who the ultimate beneficiary is. But sometimes ultimate beneficiary is a concern for me.
We won't take investments blindly. That's the message from India's finance minister. So the checks and balances are here to stay. Remember, around the world, concerns over Chinese money are rising. America is cutting off China's access to advanced technologies. Europe is targeting Chinese EVs with trade barriers. Several countries have banned Huawei's equipment. So India is right to remain on guard. Like other global powers, India is balancing economic growth with national security. And that's the only way forward. No school, no work, no parks, no gyms, no salons, no divorce, no speaking in public, no showing your face, no healthcare without a female provider, and no travel without a male chaperone. That is how 14 million people live in Afghanistan. The 14 million women and girls who have been largely erased from society, slowly but surely, since 2021, since the Battle of Kabul, when the US-backed government collapsed and in a lightning takeover, the Taliban took control of Afghanistan. In just over 3 years, the Islamist group has curtailed women, laid hammer blows to their rights, banned them from nearly every aspect of public life, and today women are virtually invisible from Afghan public life. But now they can't be visible in private either. The Taliban have imposed a new ban. Fair warning, they seem to be running out of things to ban, so they're getting creative. This time they have banned windows. Yes, windows, not the Microsoft kind, actual physical windows. And not all of them, just the ones that expose women. The windows that overlook neighborhood homes with women inside and allow their visibility in private spaces. Basically, women can exist, but they must be invisible, even in their own homes, obviously. So based on common sense, Taliban leaders have urged people to take a practical test, a window test, so to speak. If you look out the window, and you have to look out the window and check if you can see any of these things, a courtyard, a kitchen, or a well. If there's a park outside, good for you, because women are already banned there. If there's a public bathroom, again score, women can't go there either. But if you can see a place frequented by women, then too bad, you must cover your window and not with a curtain. That sounds almost too Western. You have to put up a wall, remove the window altogether, And if you're constructing a home, never mind feng shui, make sure that there are no windows overlooking places where you can spot women. Why? Because Taliban logic. This is what their spokesperson says, in fact. Seeing women working in kitchens, in courtyards, or collecting water from wells can lead to obscene acts. Ah, yes, working in a kitchen, cooking for your family, cleaning up after them, that can lead to obscenity. But what's not obscene is being a part of the Taliban, a member of their government. They can arrest Afghan women and girls for begging, detain them under draconian laws, brutally rape and beat them in jail. That's apparently not obscene. In fact, since the Taliban came to power, more than 300 women have been killed by men. More than 840 women have faced violence by men. In more than half of these cases, Taliban officials were involved, and these are only the registered cases. Afghanistan has the lowest maternal safety. Women are suffering a pandemic of suicidal thoughts. There are more than 3 million female Afghan refugees. Women are banned from directly looking at men. But they risk getting stoned, getting raped, beaten, kidnapped, detained, and even dying on a daily basis in this country. But that is not the problem. Windows overlooking them, they must be blocked. And that is not the only problem here. Afghanistan is the most restrictive country in the world for women. Despite this, the world is opening to the Taliban. To this day, no country officially recognizes the Taliban as the lawful authorities in Afghanistan. But this year, they have scored a number of diplomatic victories. Dozens of countries have welcomed Taliban diplomats. Some sent officials to Kabul. Some secured trade deals. There has even been talk of removing the Taliban from terrorist lists. This is a victory for the group and a major blow for the Afghan women. They make up half a nation that is suffocating them. And now their windows are being taken away. This is a forgotten war. And this war has only one loser: the women of Afghanistan. Here in India, we've been quite critical of Justin Trudeau, and with good reason, because Trudeau supports separatists and we've criticized his policies, his politics, and sometimes even his hair. But I'm afraid it's time to step aside, because Justin Trudeau has a new chief critic, soon to be US President Donald Trump. He's been calling Trudeau governor instead of prime minister, and now he wants a hockey star to replace him. His name is Wayne Gretzky. He played ice hockey in the 1980s and 1990s. He is often considered to be the greatest player ever. In fact, his nickname is the Great One. Apparently, Donald Trump met Wayne Gretzky recently. Listen to what he told him, and I'm quoting from what Trump said afterwards. I said, Wayne, why don't you run for Prime Minister of Canada? Soon to be known as the Governor of Canada. You would win easily. You wouldn't even have to campaign. He had no interest. Now, Trump may have been joking, but at this point, Gretzky has a better shot than Justin Trudeau. Look at the recent opinion polls. 69% Canadians say Trudeau should resign. 72% Canadians say that they're unhappy with his government. In Parliament, his situation is dire. Even Trudeau's own MPs are dumping him. His Liberal Party has 153 lawmakers. Around 50 of them want him to resign. That's a third of all party MPs who want Trudeau gone, yet the Prime Minister is clinging on. But maybe not for long. The Conservatives are planning a no-confidence vote next month. Trudeau has survived 3 of those, but the next one could topple him. Do you know why? Because his Khalistani buddy, Jagmeet Singh, plans to vote against him. Until now, he was propping up Justin Trudeau. He was trying to delay the general election, but now Jagmeet Singh says Justin Trudeau has to go. So as things stand, he will be ousted by late January. What a way to start the new year. By losing an office you've held for 10 years. But looking back, where did Justin Trudeau lose the plot? I guess everywhere. In 2022, he took support from Jagmeet Singh and the NDP. He also peddled their Khalistani agenda. Then last year, Trudeau accused India of killing a Khalistani in Canada. No evidence or intelligence, just a random accusation. Trudeau used up a lot of political capital in that witch hunt, political capital that he did not have. Then this year came Donald Trump. It is no secret that Trump does not like Justin Trudeau. But the Prime Minister saw it as an opportunity. He flew down to Trump's house in Florida. He tried the old charm offensive. Again, big mistake. Trump mocked and insulted Trudeau to his face. He suggested that Canada should join the US to avoid tariffs. It began as a joke at the dinner table. But now Trump won't stop cracking it. Even on Christmas, he sent greetings to Governor Trudeau of Canada. I know it sounds childish and immature, but it also tells you how weak Trudeau is. After days of ridicule, he has finally responded, or at least tried to. Last week, Trudeau posted this old video from 2010. It's called Explaining Canada to Americans. It's a video that reminds the US why Canada matters, whether it's for trade or energy or political support. This is how Justin Trudeau has responded after days of insults. I'm sure Trump is reeling from this zinger. I wouldn't be surprised if he de-escalates after this threat/informative video. The fact is, Trudeau is rudderless. He knows his time is up, but he's simply unable to accept it. I guess the Parliament will have to tell him next month. The New Year's Eve is almost here. Have you made any plans already? And are you making preparations? Well, whatever you do, do it responsibly, we say, because nations around the world are making some preparations of their own. They're expecting everything from drunk drivers to protests. So countries are beefing up security, setting up more CCTV cameras, deploying AI drones, and making social media posts go viral. Our next report tells you why you cannot escape the cops this New Year's Eve.
Do you have any plans for New Year's Eve? Maybe some Netflix here or a party there. Either way, hopefully, it's not DJ lockup night. That's where you follow a strict dress code, helmets, seatbelts and good decisions, and attend a killer lineup with DJ lockup and DJ breathalyzer. Whether or not you attend the event may not be in your hands. But if the night doesn't go as planned, as most New Year's Eve plans don't, then the midnight countdown will go on until your bail. Police forces everywhere are preparing for New Year's Eve. They're increasing security arrangements, traffic policing measures, deploying more forces, and installing CCTV cameras. Police officials in India's Assam state shared this message playfully, with a DJ lockup night poster making the rounds on the internet and inviting laughter. But these extensive security measures are no laughing matter. So, how are other states in India preparing for New Year's Eve? Well, the Mumbai police are deploying more than 15,000 personnel. They have deployed special units to focus on drunk driving, traffic violations, and crimes against women. The Delhi police has deployed at least 20,000 personnel. There'll be multiple traffic checkpoints in the capital. So, if you're planning to party in Delhi, be prepared for checkpoints and diversions. Kolkata is cracking down on drunk drivers, and Chennai is paying special attention to security on the beaches. Tirupur, a city in Tamil Nadu, has taken a stricter route and declared that there'll be no revelry beyond 12:30 a.m. So you can get excited on New Year's Eve, but wrap it up in 30 minutes. How are other countries preparing for the evening? Well, after a vehicle crashed through a holiday market in Germany earlier this month, the country is looking at the worst-case scenario. They've deployed 3,000 police officers on Berlin's streets. They have designated zones that ban firecrackers, knives and guns. Plus, there will be large-scale road closures to avoid New Year's Eve riots. Italy has increased security around high-priority areas, such as the Vatican and central Rome. In New York, the police are prepared for protests to break out, including those around the Israel-Hamas war. So they've deployed additional forces, especially in Times Square. Meanwhile, in Singapore, the police are deploying everything from additional officers to AI drones, with visual and thermal sensors for live camera security checks. New Year's Eve may be a joyous occasion, but with an expected influx of tourists, nations are hard at work. They are beefing up security. So make sure you enjoy New Year's Eve responsibly.
But before we get into the New Year mode, an important ritual awaits us, taking stock of the year gone by. A lot has happened this year. Multiple wars, economic crises, marathon elections, artificial intelligence, Gen Z trends, and of course, the viral hippo moo deng. So before we start 2025, let's process 2024, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Here is 2024 wrapped. Well, look at you. You have survived 2024 like a champ. And that's no easy feat, because a lot has happened this year. From wars to marathon elections to artificial intelligence, your eyes have probably been glued to screens of all sizes, streaming, scrolling, trying to make sense of what's happening, coping with the world's madness, and pinballing between random TikTok trends and political crises. But it's that time of the year again, when you try to remember what happened in the last 12 months. If your brain is drawing a blank, we've got you covered. Our 2024 Wrapped is ready. Are you? Well, life moves fast, but we took notes. Let's look back at the chaos that made 2024 unforgettable, including the bits you wish you could forget. If geopolitics was a playlist, this year would have some serious bangers. The world witnessed several major conflicts this year: the war in Ukraine, the Israel-Hamas war, the Syrian rebellion, the Sudanese civil war, conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Myanmar civil war, and the Haiti gang violence. Conflicts around the world have doubled over the past 5 years. They benefit mainly the defense companies whose global arms sales surpassed $632 billion, while thousands of lives were lost. Last year, the number of people killed in conflicts was about 180,000. This year, the number grew by about 30% to more than 233,000 deaths. The West Asia meltdown was particularly a chart topper, featuring surprise guest appearances from various world leaders pretending to care for 15 seconds. Let's hear the iconic lyrics, shall we? Try to keep up. On April 13th, Israel, the US, and other allies thwarted Iran's strikes. A volley of over 300 missiles and drones, it was Iran's first ever direct attack on Israel. On May 19, Iran's president was killed in a helicopter crash. On September 17, pagers carried by thousands of Hezbollah operatives exploded at the same time in an Israeli operation. The top leadership of Hezbollah and Hamas was decimated. There were multiple missile attacks and escalating hostilities. Then on November 26th, Israel approved a ceasefire with Lebanon, bringing a halt to more than a year of fighting.
The cabinet will approve a framework for a ceasefire in Lebanon.
Then on November 30th, action shifted to Syria. A surprise rebel offensive recaptured the Syrian city of Aleppo, and on December 8th, Bashar al-Assad's regime toppled, ending 50 years of his family's rule. West Asia is still on the geopolitical charts and showing no signs of slowing down. Meanwhile, Ukraine remains on the boil. Both Ukraine and Russia are running out of troops. So Russia turned to North Korea. It deployed Korean soldiers against Kiev. Zelensky took the war inside Russia, firing drones in Moscow and assassinating a top Russian general. Both sides are preparing for Donald Trump's presidency. He has promised to end the war on day one in office, and he said it before he won the election.
I will get the problem solved, and I will get it solved in rapid order, and it will take me no longer than one day.
Speaking of which, while it's not a competition, some election season anthems also rocked the world this year. More than half of the world's population voted across nearly 80 countries, including the most populous nation, India. Between the months of April and June, India held the largest elections in recorded history. Prime Minister Narendra Modi won a historic third term, but the world over, elections came in every genre, from battle raps to classic protest anthems. In January, Bangladesh's Sheikh Hasina won a fifth term. Just a few months later, she fled the country, forced from power by student-led protests. In February, Indonesia elected Prabowo Subianto as president, who, as you may know, is a former general dogged by allegations of human rights abuses. In March, Russians voted in elections, and the obvious choice, Vladimir Putin, came to power yet again. Giving us the hit, polls, what are those? We got some not-so-surprising tracks, like in Venezuela, protests failed to achieve their aim, and in July's potentially stolen election, Nicolas Maduro did not release voting data. But some tracks took us by surprise. The UK's general election gave near historic swings to the Labour Party. The Conservative Party's majority was shattered amid record levels of apathy. Some other tracks invited more disappointed head shakes than head bangs, like in the case of France. This summer's snap elections threw up a hung parliament, and ever since, President Emmanuel Macron has struggled. Late December, he announced a new government, his country's fourth in 1 year. The election leaderboard also got its second hit wonder, featuring the US. After a long intro of Joe Biden tripping, zoning out, and wandering off, the dramatic race between Republican candidate Donald Trump and Democratic candidate Kamala Harris ended with Trump's victory in a historic comeback. How can we talk about Trump without a special mention of his superhero cum sidekick, Elon Musk? If Musk were a song, he would be playing on loop. What a year 2024 has been for the richest person in the world, from ups and downs of Tesla stock, which shot up as much as 85% this year, to SpaceX's valuation nearly doubling from $180 billion at the end of last year to $350 billion this month. Elon Musk had a rapid ascent in US politics. He pumped more than $270 million into the Trump campaign, and now he's co-heading DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. He's also become the first person to reach a net worth of $400 billion. The world may be fleeing X, but you can't ignore the Musk factor. This was the year of Elon. It was also the year of climate change, with 2024 being the hottest year on record. But while you doom scroll through doomsday prospects, some other hottest tracks included NASA astronauts being stuck in space for months, Canada's Justin Trudeau picking a fight with India and perpetually making a joke of himself, Nvidia's valuation surpassing $3 trillion in June, a massive outage for millions of Microsoft Windows devices in July, the Paris Olympics of August, with a breaking performance that broke the internet. And to top off the chaos, in December, South Korea was dragged into martial law and back. A murder accused in the US went viral for his abs. And pop queen Taylor Swift took a final bow. Her Eras tour came to an end, earning more than $2 billion. While all this and more happened, artificial intelligence made guest appearances every few days. On some days, it wanted users to kill themselves. On other days, it asked people to eat rocks. Despite the faults, a human married AI, another human put an AI chip in their brain, and a robot performed a world-first surgery. 2024 also witnessed a pop culture power surge, with a banana artwork being sold for more than $6 million and then being eaten by a crypto bro. A sock war was afoot between millennials and Gen Z. A New Zealand man won the Spanish Scrabble Championship without speaking the language. And while people look for a man in finance, they spend free time coming up with Kate Middleton conspiracy theories. While obsessing over the snot bubble-blowing Mo Deng in Thailand, 2024 was all things brat and demure. Yes, every so often, it gave us the brain rot, but it was a roller coaster. Thanks for coming along for this ride. Just 2 more days left in 2024, so we've decided to tweak our joke segment for today and tomorrow. It's not just joke of the day, it's the jokes of the year. And we had so many weird and funny moments this year, so many wild moments. Joe Biden wandering off into the bushes at the G7, Donald Trump saying migrants are eating cats and dogs, and Keir Starmer asking Hamas to return sausages instead of hostages. Our world leaders really slipped up this year, and so did our Olympians. Who can forget the Australian break dancer, Reagan? Frankly, I wish we could, because that was one confusing performance. Take a look at part 1 of our special compilation.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. 13 feet high tsunami-like waves batter Peru's coastline. Crowds in New York's Times Square get a sneak peek of the New Year's Eve confetti drop, and hundreds in Spain take part in the Madrid festive dog walk. Finally, we're taking you back in history on this day in 1922. The Soviet Union was formally established. It initially consisted of 4 founding republics, with Moscow being the capital. Over time, it expanded to include 15 republics, becoming the largest country in the world. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Confetti go! Let's get some more confetti out there! Happy New Year! Oh, look at it go! You guys got the first show of the NYPD that was